Hi and welcome back to She Means Business. This is Deepika Singh, and today I'm going to tell you about some really cool new things I discovered in July. So this includes 2 fiction books, both by Indian authors, 1 sari brand, 2 dresses, both by Homegrown brands, 1 lipstick and 1 podcast episode. We're going to do this monthly. So every month I will bring you my favorites from the previous month. So this month, this episode is July favorites, and we're going to hashtag this SMB favorites. Let's go. My first recommendation is a fiction book, a murder mystery. It's called The Fast and the Dead by Anuja Chauhan. But before I tell you about the book, let me give you a little backstory on Anuja. So I started my career in advertising, and she was also in advertising, senior. And she was one of the people on the creative team of Pepsi. She was working on some really cool brands, and I think she was on a very senior position on the creative team at Pepsi. And at that time, every summer Pepsi and Coke would have like a huge marketing and advertising war. They were the brands with the most spends, they were the brands with the most creative strategies, they were the brands with the most creative campaigns and ads. And she was behind the Pepsi campaigns, and at that point the Pepsi campaigns were rocking. So obviously, as a student and then later as a newbie in advertising, I landed up studying a lot of her work, and I loved it. And then a few years later, I was at an award function where she was one of the award winners. And when she went up to receive her award, she said that, I dedicate this award to my help because I'm able to do very cool things like advertising campaigns and writing books, because she completely takes charge of my entire home. And I thought that was very, very cool. So I've always liked Anuja as a personality, and I also love her books. I started reading her books many years back, but this particular book I read in July. So the fast here stands for Karwa Chauth fast. And like all good murder mysteries, in this one too, Anuja throws you enough red herrings for you to stay confused but not get frustrated. I love murder mysteries. I think I read my first Agatha Christie when I was 10 or 11. I have the whole collection here at home. And in my head, I always try to solve the mystery before the author reveals who the murderer is. And like all good murder mysteries, I couldn't in this book, which is a good thing. That's what makes it interesting. The characters are super. I love Anuja's humor, and it's based in Bangalore, and she builds the neighborhood so well. It's very immersive. You feel like you're there, and like I said, she builds her characters really, really well. So very light yet very engrossing, and a very interesting read with enough twists and turns to keep you interested but not get bored or frustrated. Fast and the Dead by Anuja Chauhan. Recommendation number 2 is another book. This is Milk Teeth by Amrita Mahale. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Such a well written book. Also on several literature award lists, etc. I had zero expectations. I had not heard of her when I picked up this book. And I really didn't know who she was. I read the back and I found it intriguing, and I just picked it up amongst the many books that I picked up that day. And then I did not read it for many weeks. I finally read it in July. And I started reading it on a very turbulent flight from Delhi to Mumbai. And I hate turbulent flights. But this book actually distracted me from the turbulence of the flight, which says a lot about any book, because I hate turbulence. But this book actually was very, very gripping. It's a very very nuanced book. It's not very heavy. It's not one of those fictions that you will start and say, "Arey, ye to bahut heavy." It's not. Yet it is so gripping and so deep, and like I said, very nuanced. The characters are etched out really well. The descriptions are beautiful. It is based in Mumbai, and I've been in Mumbai for about 15 years now. And I could actually feel the neighborhood, smell the houses, see when she describes the house, or the building, you could actually see it in your mind. So beautifully done. But I think the success of this book is how gripping it is in terms of the characters that she's written and the turn the characters take, and the various layers of each character. It is beautiful. And somehow you both hate and love all the characters, because they're so real, they're so real, but like I said, very nuanced. You feel good for people, you also feel bad for people, but you can feel everything that she's talking about in this book. I really love this book. I'm not going to tell you more because it has some hidden surprises, so you have to read the book to figure it out. But I'm telling you, you have to read this book. It is very nuanced, very delicious. You can't put it down once you pick it up. So I really loved this book. Recommendation number 3 is I don't know how to do this. So let's split this up. Recommendation number 3 is actually a market and then we'll lead from there. So I'm originally from Delhi, and there is this market called N Block Market, N for Nest Block Market, in a place called GK1, which I used to go to a lot, and then it kind of died. Like a lot of markets that are open air, it kind of died because the malls took over. And then in July, I was in Delhi and I decided, my in-laws stay in GK and I had some time to kill. So I said, let me just go around GK and just do some stuff, and let me go to N Block Market and see. I knew that Fab India is at N Block Market and I wanted to browse Fab India. So I went to the market and I was surprised. The market has completely changed. The market is now almost 70% made of homegrown clothing brands, and a lot of them, in the block printed space. So I loved it. There was Kilol, there was Suvasa, there was Kesa, there was Fab India, of course, there was Anokhi, and a whole lot of other very local Delhi small, designer tailoring brands actually, So I had an amazing time. I shopped a lot. But there are 2 things that I want to talk about, 2 things that I picked up from that market that afternoon that I really want to talk about. One of them is this sari from a brand called Suvasa, right? Look at the beautiful print. It's very different from your usual, block prints. I will also play a video that shows me wearing this sari. But I absolutely love, because it's not your usual block print. The print is very different. I just love these lotus flowers and I love the color, and the sari looks gorgeous. And as always, I always have some blouse which will match, so I actually wore it. So I absolutely loved it. I've bought some stuff from Suvasa earlier. They have clothes, they have saris, they have dupattas, they have suits, they also have linen, so I think it's a beautiful brand. But what I really loved about this sari was the print. The block print is actually very different from the usual Jaipuri block prints that you find. So the design is very pretty and the sari looks so pretty worn. So Suvasa is a brand I would definitely recommend, but this is a sari that I absolutely love. They're also available online, so you can go check them out and check out their stuff. The second store that I went to and I actually picked up something in that market on that afternoon was a brand called Kesa. I think I put that right. Yes, Kesa. Again, I'm going to put it up here. It's known as brand Kesa on Instagram. So you can actually go look it up. I actually went to the physical store in that market and I picked up this dress. When I first wore it, I felt it wasn't fitting, right? But it was just so pretty. I bought it. I said, we'll figure it out. It was slightly tight at the chest. So I said, let me just figure it out. I'll pick it up and then I'll take it and then I'll see what I have to do with it. I love the border. It has these spaghetti straps and then I love the border of the dress. It just looks very pretty. I'm going to show it to you. I'll again show you a video where I am wearing this dress. I'm going to link it up here, as you can see. And again, the good part about this dress is there are so many colors. You can pair it with so many color accessories. You can wear green earrings, peach earrings, pink earrings, gold earrings, silver earrings, any kind of lipstick and it will go. And it looks beautiful when it is worn. So these 2 delicious branded clothes that I picked up that afternoon in July in Delhi. And I think my bigger surprise was N Block Market. So if you're in Delhi, hop across. It's a delight. There are also some beautiful home accessory brands in that market. A couple of interesting outlets to have coffee, etc. But all in all, it was a nice browsing afternoon. I was pleasantly surprised. I miss the markets of Delhi. The malls have completely taken over. I am bored of the malls. There is no creativity. I mean, they all look the same. All the malls have the same brands. I miss, M Block Market, N Block Market, all these markets of Delhi. I really, really miss. So it was such a pleasant afternoon and such a pleasant surprise. And I actually shopped for these two that afternoon and I absolutely loved it. All right. The second dress that I bought is from Nicobar. It's the first time that I've bought something from Nicobar, and I'm amazed at the cut and the fall. It's very nice, very stylish. At the same time, it's also very comfortable because it is made out of jersey material. So I like the cut and the fall. I love the neckline. I love the racer back. It's one of those dresses that you can pretty much live in, wear every day. So I think I've become a huge fan of Nicobar and I see myself buying many, many more Nicobar items. Nothing in this video is sponsored, I must tell you. It is all my recommendations and my likes and what I have discovered. The next thing that I want to talk about is, okay, let me tell you about this lipstick, right? The next thing I'm going to tell you is about this lipstick. It's a brand called Lady Burgundy. This is the brand. It's called Lady Burgundy. Can you see it? It's a liquid lipstick, and this particular, I bought two, but this is the one I want to talk about. This it's a shade called Kigali, right? I think it's a Canadian brand, if I'm not mistaken. I actually strolled into the Tira outlet here in Mumbai, and they were running an offer. I was looking for liquid lipsticks and they were running an offer, and I thought, let me pick this one up because it was a 1+1 and it was actually turning out to be very, very reasonable. And I tried this and I loved the texture and I loved how smooth it was, and I loved the applicator also. But there's something else about this lipstick that I really, really love. This particular shade, it's a nudish shade, but when you wear this lipstick by itself, it is a nude shade. It's a nice brown nude shade. But you know how it happens that, so for me example, I don't know where to go to test lipsticks, right? So Tira will have a few brands, Nykaa will have some other brands, physical outlets I'm talking about. There's these local beauty centers around my house, they have some few brands, but not every brand and not every shade, right? So I land up buying a lot of lipsticks without testing them from online sites like Nykaa and all. And they look very nice on the site, but when they come, the shade, it doesn't look nice on me, it doesn't suit me. The shade could be very nice, but somehow it doesn't go with my skin tone. That happens a lot. And recently I bought these two lipsticks, Maybelline Vinyl Ink and another lipstick from another brand, and beautiful again, very nice texture, everything, but the shades somehow are not suiting my skin tone, right? But what I discovered is that if I put these lipsticks that are not looking so good on me, and then I put a thin layer of this particular Lady Burgundy, Kigali, it makes that shade stay, yet the tone becomes slightly darker. So mixing this with very, very dark shades that are not suiting me so much because they're not, like, there's something about the tone of that lipstick. One thin layer of this retains a bit of that shade of that lipstick and yet, makes it slightly darker tone for it to look good on me. Which is why I have fallen in love with this Lady Burgundy Kigali shade, because it's coming in very handy for me to mix and match with the lipsticks that are not going so well with my skin. Overall, I would say it's very nice. The other shade that I bought, now I've forgotten the shade, is decent, it's okay, but this one I really, really like. Also, it has a little shine. So when I put it by itself also, it has a little shine which makes it look really, really good. So Lady Burgundy, I have really taken to this brand and I really, really like it. My last recommendation for today is a podcast. I'm a huge consumer of podcasts. I really listen to podcasts a lot, particularly on flights, or even when I'm out for a walk or a run, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've actually learned a lot from podcasts. Some of these podcasts you really land up learning so much from. They're a delight to listen to. And one of my evergreen, most favorite podcasts is a podcast called Business Wars. It's a series, many episodes, but it is by production by a company called Wondery. It's a media company called Wondery, and they have a lot of podcasts, and they have a lot of I'm sure my liner has really spread by now. Anyway, so they have a lot of these podcasts, and one of them is Business Wars. So if you go to Spotify or if you go to Apple Podcasts, you will find Business Wars. Now, Business Wars is about two brands in the same space and how they have fought with each other, interacted with each other, grown, or competed with each other. And one of the episodes that I heard in July, this was again on a flight, was Gucci versus Louis Vuitton, all in the family. That's what the episode is called. I can't find my phone where this episode is. Gucci versus Louis Vuitton, all in the family. That's what it is called. It's there in my downloaded episodes. It's always very fascinating to know the stories behind these brands, behind all brands. You get to know so much of how these brands grew, how they built themselves up, why they price themselves the way they price. And this is not true only of luxury brands, it is true of all brands. It also provides you with such amazing conversation, right? You can talk about so much more when you know all of this. So I have a fascination for knowing how these things used to work. This particular episode, All in the Family, is all about how they were both family owned businesses and how they went from family owned businesses to hiring outside people to actually lead the businesses, right? So this episode is about that. Now that's a very difficult transition. For example, in Louis Vuitton, what this episode talks about is that in the 1970s, Louis Vuitton, the founders, great-grandchildren were running, great-grandchildren were running the company. There were boys and there was also one girl, Odile, and they were grappling. They were not doing well. Louis Vuitton was kind of dying. And then how the girl, the sister, the great-granddaughter decided that it was time to bring in an outside person to run the company. But the boys, the brothers, were not agreeing. And also the person that she wanted to bring in to run the company, the professional, was her husband. So obviously there was a lot of family resistance because the brothers would think that the sister and her husband would run away with the company, but she actually meant well. And so how that transition happened, and then he took over as the CEO of the company, her husband took over as the CEO of the company, and how he changed the course of the company. Fascinating, absolute. So the whole thing about how it went from family to an outside person who was also family, but also how this guy then planned it and what. So Japan was the first market they went to after Paris, and what they did and the kind of negotiations they did in Japan, was the stepping point to building Louis Vuitton worldwide into such a large brand. So I think there is so much to learn. So if you get the time, listen to this episode, Gucci versus Louis Vuitton, all in the family. In fact, I would recommend Business Wars as a podcast that you must listen to. Look it up, see the brands that interest you, brands that you either interact with or you consume. Look up those brands, because knowing the story of the brands is much more interesting, right? So any brand that you would have interacted with, you will automatically want to know the story behind that brand, right? So you will find many brand stories listed over there. So Business Wars, and within Business Wars, Gucci versus Louis Vuitton, the episode All in the Family. So those are my July recommendations. My July favorites actually. I really enjoyed these books, the sari, the lipstick, this podcast episode. Tell me whether you like this episode and this series, and tell me what else you would like me to incorporate. Maybe I'll do shows, food, coffee shops, drinks, other kinds of brands, so I'll try and do as much as possible. But you also tell me what is it that you would like me to recommend to you, and what is it that you would like me to do more. If you've noticed, the tone of this channel has been changing slightly, because when I first created, I'll take a minute to explain. When I first created this YouTube channel, it was more like a marketing for my B2B work. I work as a learning facilitator and a speaker, and I used to talk only about the things that I teach corporates, right? So I used to talk about presentation skills and communication skills, and I know that is what you expect from me. But recently and lately I've decided that there's more to me than that. There is so much more that I do. There is so much more that is me, that makes me me. And I thought it would be nice to bring that facet of my personality onto my social media as well, which is why both my Instagram and my YouTube is seeing a little bit of a shift. All the stuff that I will bring to you, all the content that I will bring to you is always going to be stuff that I feel can add value to your life. It will either inspire you, or you will learn something from it, or there will be a recommendation that you will value. So all the content will always be to add value to your life, but there will be slightly different content from only communication and presentation skills. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoy my channel, and I hope you're going to subscribe to this channel, and I hope you're going to press like on this video. This is Deepika Singh. Till next time, bye bye.